Thank you so much for being here. My name is Pablo. I am the co-director of the Experimental Photo Festival in Barcelona. We have been working with experimental photography for the last 3.5, 4 years, organizing different activities. We really realized a couple of the last year with the pandemics, we realized that it was really important to create this kind of meeting points. We know that they are really different. I mean, I have never heard about any other online exhibition with a meeting, but we thought that it was really nice idea. I mean, because in the end, at least you have something in common, a technique, an idea, reflection, a point of view, something that you can share. And that it would be really nice, at least to have these 2 hours to share. And we started this idea, not with the first one, it was from experimental Polaroid, I think it was a year ago, but from the second one. And it was a really nice experience. People get really interested and we had a lot of amazing debates. One thing that happens to me personally is that during the festival, I'm too tired, I'm too busy doing a lot of things. And I'm really enjoying these kind of meetings because it's my opportunity to be sharing with you directly something that is really impossible during the festival. Okay, thank you so much for coming. My name is Pablo. We have here Naroa. Okay, in some point, it depends on how your screen is. You have to kind of screen in Zoom. You have the speaker view just to see my face. That's not the best one because you're just going to get bored of listening to me. You have the other one that is like the big one, then you can have everyone. That's nice also just to have the feeling that we are a community. You can just mix between them all. And when we see the images, you are just going to be able to see the share screen. Okay, we have Naroa Perez, that she was an artist for the Festival of X20. It was really amazing to having you here with us.
Hello, thank you.
Also, it was really nice to having you for this online exhibition because I was like thinking the last year, all the exhibitions were about techniques. We did cyanotype, cameraless, it was really based on techniques. During the year, we started making a debate and a reflection about that we really have to go out of the techniques and start to go in more deeply, talking about the message, mixing the techniques and working as a community. We just changed the focus to another point of view. And when we decided to do the exhibitions, we started debating about the themes and what we want. And I really directly remember what Naroa talked in that conference that she was doing here with the people of E5 from London, and they were talking about these 3 subjects that we put in the exhibition. And I say, Naroa, you have to be here. You have to be at the beginning of this year, just trying to find more people with the same reflection as you. Thank you so much, Naroa, for being open and for being here.
Thank you very much. It's true that here in London, talking a lot about experimental, not only experimental, but alternative processes and different ways of approaching photography. There's always these 3 concepts that they're all the time on our mouth. Like every time we talk about experimental, there was always this mistake, repetition, chance. So in E5, there were like some photographers that they were also working around these concepts. And also talking with Kai Lewis, that she's one of the exhibitors, is like one of the photographers in the exhibition, is the whole time is this thing about being able to be free enough to make these kind of mistakes, be brave to put chance in the process and repeat and repeat again until you get what you want. But actually during those repetitions, you could find something that you weren't planning at all, and that it goes through another path and you're going to find something different that you weren't absolutely at all expecting. And that's also to be a little bit brave in photography, because normally in photography everything is ruled, everything has to be one way. Kodak or Ilford is going to tell you how to process, print and whatever. So sometimes it's like, okay, I'm going to take Ilford's rules and I'm going to just put in the other way, see what happens, and maybe that is going to affect in a different way the film or the paper, and you're going to get a different result that actually is much more interesting than the fiber-based Ilford process. So it's always about that. Also, it's been really difficult to do the selections. There were some of them that they were really beautiful, but actually they were not in this theme of mistake, chance, and repetition. So one of the things that happens, for example, here in London, is that all the open calls, they have to be tailored. Like you have to be really showing the work and explaining to me, for example, in this case, why you should be in this exhibition. You have to convince me why you should be in this exhibition. So if you send me whatever work and say, look, this is what I've got, this is what I do. No, you have to convince me. You're the one that I have to be really sure that, oh, actually this person needs to be in this exhibition because actually he or she is working on this really hard. That's what happens. I mean, like, it's true that one of the discussions that we have is that I have chose like a lot of, how do you say, Anglo-Saxon, like very like British or yeah, I don't know. So, and it's true. Maybe it's because I'm in London. I've been here in 7 years in London, and we speak in one way, and we make a narrative of what we do, or the way that we explain in as a photographer and as an artist in these open calls, is what I could see in those texts. Like, this is actually convincing me that this person has to be in this exhibition. The way that you talk, the way that you show yourself to the person that is gonna make a selection is really important. It's really, really important. It's something that when I came here to London, I was like, no, I'm not gonna get into these things because blah blah blah. At the end, this is like a world that I don't want to be in. But actually, it's a good way, because like that, you know how to show yourself, explain yourself, and every time that you explain yourself, you rethink everything what you're doing, and you're gonna get deeper and much better explaining yourself, and also getting people to understand what you're doing. And it's an exercise that is really, really good. And do once and again your bio, do once and again the text for the work that you're showing. Once and again, you have to really explain and convince that person that you are the one that has to be there. So that's why sometimes if you send whatever, I mean, the person that is on the other side is like, you're sending, you're not even, I don't know how to say, you don't even make the effort to explain yourself properly. So if you're not doing that effort, what I'm gonna be doing that effort to try to understand you, you know what I mean? So being an artist, sometimes it's like, they have to understand because this is art. Yeah, of course. Sometimes because it's obvious or it's less obvious or these kind of things. But sometimes it's good to give a clue, like explain a little bit and make people curious. And like that is the first step to people get into your work. And then it's when you don't need to explain, because actually they know what you're doing. Yeah, it's not the liquid emotion touchy thing. Yeah, I know. You know, like, because you have already explained a little bit, you have been curious, you have made people curious, and then they come with another, you know, in another way. Like,
but what you're saying,
in English they say you have to warm it up, you know, you have to make people come to you.
What you're saying is that in some point you were choosing so many Anglo-Saxon artists because they were easily explaining themselves.
No, I didn't realize. To be honest, I was really focused on not, because I was choosing a lot of women, like a lot of women. So I was like, oh, shit, I need to put some men in here. But it's not, I had some, but not enough. And so I was like, I need to balance this. And I had to take out some of the women that I really like too, and then put some men that I also liked it. It's not like I'm putting in like because they're men, but actually I was more into that because I knew that I was getting like a lot of women, like double. And then I didn't realize about the countries. And then when you showed me the list, I was like, wow, okay, this is not intentional at all, but it came out like that. So that's why, and I sent you a message, oh my God, what I've done.
No, and it's nice that we are talking about this because we really want to make this explanation for everyone, just to know that we really are really working hard into gender equality, and we didn't realize all these kind of things. But in the end, there are a lot of like things working on when you are making these kind of selections, when you are sending your work and everything. And I think these kind of debates are really interesting. Okay, I just want to introduce you Fran, that is here with us. Freud Wittis, there, somewhere there. He was helping us with the technical things for this online exhibition. Thank you so much, Freud, for making this selection with Naroa. It was really useful. Thank you so much. Hope you are going to collaborate.
No problem.
With the festival. Even more,
Pleasure.
he was a volunteer for the last 2 years, and now he's going up to be in the boss. Hopefully you are going to be the boss soon, and I'm going to get retired. That's what I would love the most. I need some rest. Okay, thank you so much, Freud. And I just want to say also thanks to all the participants and also to the festival, all the workers of the festival, and also Laura, that is the co-director. She's not here because she's in a family trip, but she's going to be happy to see this video after we are going to put it probably on YouTube during the next week. Okay, we are going to start with Amber. We are going to start showing your image and sharing. If you have any questions, you can just ask her, or you can just put your hand. There is one option here just to put your hand, and I'm going to see you and I'm going to give you the voice, just if you want to make some questions to her or something. Okay, here. Everyone can see it?
Hello everyone, my name is Anna. Sorry, I think the Instagram account is not that one. Or I don't know, it doesn't, that's my picture. Anyway, my name is Ana Blumenkron and I am a Mexican photographer that lives in London currently. And the way I do my work is I use Polaroid a lot, and this is a Polaroid lift. And I applied to the Mistake, Chance, Repetition exhibition because my work is inspiring feminist relationships, and I think there's nothing more do a mistake, repeat, change than dating. 100%. So yeah, so for this particular work, it's called Foreplay, and it's while I was in quarantine, I really wanted to date someone, but it was really difficult. So I engaged in cyber relationships like Tinder, Bumble, you name it, online dating. And I was trying to, through my images, like maybe try to think someone else with me in the room. So I was using double exposures in Polaroid. All this with the attempt of keep out the stigma on female horniness. I believe that women are not allowed to be horny or sexually active or owning their own sexuality. So that's really important for me. So I believe that women, we are as horny as men, if not even sometimes more. We should not be stigmatized because of this. So I will go into my room and engage in conversation with men across my screen, just like we're doing right now. And then I would photograph myself with the Polaroid, and then find some flowers to represent my particular partner or whoever I was talking to, and do a double exposure, and then spend the time having a cyber date or a physical date with my Polaroid image. So I would take the time to cut it, bathe it, and pass it into lovely and beautiful cotton paper. So this was basically the process. The whole images and series is called it's in a zine. So I ended up doing a zine with the conversations with my dates. So it's almost like an erotic kind of sexting story. It's pretty horny, it's really fun. And yeah, I just really much enjoyed it. And all my work is just focusing, how can we attempt to have relationships with because I'm straight and I really like dating men, but it's really difficult also to follow the standards of beauty and following the standards of the patriarchy on how are you supposed to behave when you're dating, or how are you supposed to be less dominant or less strong, and meaning men are supposed to dominate the conversation or whatnot. So all my work is related into how can we get into more fulfilling romantic relationships without having the pressure of patriarchy.
Nice.
Yeah. If anyone would like to ask me any questions or have any doubts, I'm happy to respond to them.
You have described my life right now.
Yeah, I agree. Online dating is really difficult.
Yeah, totally. We
You
need
put
to
the
talk.
other day
Take a
something
coffee.
on Instagram also, Naroa, that it was a bad idea to get into Tinder again.
Really bad. I really like the job. I mean, like, I like your work. I mean, like,
Thank you so much, Nora.
really amazing. The thing is that when I made the selection, it was more about the mistake in the process, and you're like, and these kind of things. But I really, you know that I really like your work. I really like everything you say. So yeah.
Yeah, for me, definitely it's more about the mistake that we commit dating, right? Like, I feel that most of the relationships will end up in tears. So you just have to wipe them off and try again, learn from your mistakes, and hopefully the next one will stick. It's a bit sad.
No, it's getting difficult. I think COVID is not helping. Like all
not at all.
So, but yeah.
That's why for me also it was interesting to reflect on cyber relationships and how we can still have sexual intercourse through our computers and through our screens, because it's actually absolutely true. I'm sure a lot of people engage in cyber texting, and if not, do it. Like, I extremely recommend it. It can be extremely satisfying and really fun just to go for it.
Nice. Okay, I would really love to see in some point of my life. I mean, if we meet in some point, or you are coming to the festival or something, just to see the scene, like in general, because we're just seeing this image in particular, but it would be really nice, like, to see the whole project. I would be really happy to do that if you can share it, or.
Yeah, I'll definitely put the link in the chat where you can see the full project.
Okay,
I work a lot in zines because I'm obsessed with printed materials and printed forms. So I really love creating visual stories that engage also in conversations. And I actually really enjoy doing foreplay because you feel that you're reading someone else's phone, which is also like such an interesting experience of like peeking into private conversations. I don't know, it's kind of fun.
It's nice. Okay, that would be amazing if you can share the full project. Okay, any questions for Anna? If not, we are just going to go for the next one. If not, anyway, I mean, you can just ask Anna, meet Anna on YouTube, on Instagram. Yep. You can make her questions, make friends. That is a little bit of the idea. I mean, if the conversation doesn't continue now, it's because we don't have time, but for sure we're just going to keep in this conversation for the next.
Thank you so much for having me and listening and looking at my image, and I'm excited to listen to the other participants.
Great. Just to know, if you want to come to Barcelona for the next summer, we have the tickets for the festival from the 20 to 25. I really have to say this at the beginning, but then I just get lost. And now I'm just going to say that for everyone, if you want to come to the festival, it's July 2024, 5 days, a summer camp in Barcelona with 300 crazy artists as you, with these kind of crazy projects that we love a lot. And we are just going to be doing a lot of activities this year. We have 80 workshops. We are mainly based in workshops and conferences. Probably the next year we are going to have something like 80 or 100 workshops. It's a pretty big festival, and you are all the time having things to do, all the time. We are having a lot of different activities. You are going to love it. And also we have created this school of experimental photography that is called Agora. And we are starting with the courses this week and the next week. We have like 2 different paths. One is the basic one related with experimental photography for knowing the well-known, the 10 best known techniques like cyanotype or solarigraphy, all these kind of techniques. We are teaching them for during 2 months. The course is starting tomorrow, and next week I think we are starting the day 9 with the first one of the challenges that we have created for the festival, because we really think that we have to go outside of the techniques and we need to start thinking in these challenges that we put to our community, and that they organize also the Agora. We are going to be working, trying to mix techniques, trying to find the message of what we are saying, not just to stay on the aesthetical part of our work. And also the third one is to work in community, trying to make a debate about the author and how can we also work with other people to try to find new images. The images of the future, obviously, they are not going to come from some illuminated artists, but from the work that we are doing as a community. That's what we think, and we have created these 3 spaces for that. Okay, this was publicity. We are going to the next one. Just feel free to join the other activities that we are doing. Do we have Daniel? Yes, do we have him from Mexico? He was here.
So, first of all, thanks for the... Thank you. Yeah, so first of all, thanks for the invitation to participate. I'm really happy. I'm a huge fan of the Experimental Photo Festival.
Thank you so much.
It's I would say it's like a fresh breath of air in the photo world. It's like experimental photo or the experimental processes are not so taken into account nowadays. So when I found out about the festival, I immediately clicked with you. So now to talk about the photo that you're seeing, I would like to tell you all that, well, this is part of an ongoing project that I'm working on. It's called Absolute Freedom, Libertad Absoluta. It's in Spanish. And it's a project that focuses on portraying Mexican nightlife, specifically, trying to capture youth in their nightlife environments. I'm a documentary filmmaker, so my creative processes sometimes can take up to 2 years to make a project, right? So a movie can be a very long and exhaustive process that requires a lot of planning, a lot of mental work. So when I go out and shoot pictures, it's like it's my escape from my own self, So every time I go out and shoot pictures, I try to always try something new, never repeat myself. And in this specific project, what I'm trying to look for is to be able to capture with the available light moments in which I can try and express with the photo not only what's happening, in this case, a dancing girl, but to try and capture also the essence of what she's feeling, And this is always like my main interest when I try to push my boundaries further. Whenever I'm trying to experiment with something in photography, what I'm trying to look for is for new ways for me to capture the essence of what I'm seeing. So in this kind of photos, it's not only portraying or capturing the specific moment of what's going on, but also to try and transmit through the photograph what this person was going through, what this individual is trying to free themselves from. And in general, I think that experimental photography poses a great opportunity for this, to try and capture essence, further from aesthetics, further from documentary specific images, the ability to capture what seems that seems to escape. Whenever you're trying to capture something, there's always this essence that escapes you. And in this kind of process, I try and capture it and make it part of the photograph. So in the end, what you're looking at, it's not a specific moment, but more like an abstract, fleeting feeling that catches you and perhaps makes you reflect upon your own freedom and your own need to express yourself. And I don't know, I think that specifically, night culture and youth night culture is like a very powerful and meaningful part of life that sometimes is not considered as such. Yes, it's maybe just like, oh yeah, we went out and took some drinks. But the truth is that every night there's this moment when you feel yourself, you feel connected to yourself, you escape the world, you might find answers to questions you have. And in the end, this is what I'm trying to do with this project, to try and capture youth's needs to express themselves, and how dance and the collectiveness of this intimacy that's shared in nightlife can be captured in photography and shared well with whomever gets to see these pictures. And well, in this specific case, what's going on is that I was taking photos at this extremely dark techno club. They had like 1 or 2 available light sources. So I had to go with very low shutter speed to try and capture anything. And it resulted in one of my favorite series. That night I took some of my favorite photographs, and I think this one that you're looking at is one of them. And well, if you got any question or anything you'd like to talk about.
How do you take it exactly? I didn't get it.
Yeah, so well, whenever I'm out shooting night photographs, I like to shoot with the available light. I never carry a flash or anything of that sort. So what I usually do is I go to high ISO settings, like 1600 ISO, 3200 ISO. But at this time, at this specific moment, there was 0 to no available light. So ISO was not enough to capture. Yes. So I had to go down on my shutter speed. So I think this picture must have been taken with a 2 or 5 second exposure on a low ISO. This is probably 100 ISO setting and 2 to 5 second shutter speed. And this is what causes this, well, the blurriness and the multiple exposure effect. And I think it's a really beautiful way to capture like the, I don't know, like the soul and its movement, you know, like the need to free yourself from the la quietud, you know, from the stillness of life, you know, like we're forced to stillness in life, and we're animals, we're wild things. And I think dance is one of the things that brings us most together to what we really are, or what we really need as individuals, you know, and I really like to try and capture that when I'm taking nightlife photography.
Okay, great. The result is great. I mean, I really thought that it was a double exposure, but yes, it's a long exposure. And I think this counter light and this black and white and the low ISO that you were using and everything, I think it's perfect. Did all the images, because I think you sent 4, you made the same for the same night, or the project is from different days?
Those four photographs I sent were shot the same night. They were all from the same night. And it was the first night that I came across with this mixture of techniques, you could say. Okay. And this is where I mean, from that night on, I started working a lot more with long exposures. Right now, just last month, I dared, how you say it, me atreví. I braved myself I dared to go out with film cameras and try and do this in same conditions, and I'm getting pretty amazing results.
This is digital.
Yes. This is digital photography.
Okay, for me, I really, I don't know. For me, is, for example, all you said about the nightclub and the youth and all of that is amazing, and I like it, but I cannot see that in this image. You have to explain me, or if you want actually to talk me about youth, the person there has to be, I have to see that he's young, you know, or that he's dancing, or I have to put in a kind of a context, because actually first I thought it was done like in a studio. It could be done in a studio perfectly with a very low, 100 ISO is not very low. You can go until really low, but and also for me it doesn't look like a double exposure. It looks like the trace of the movement. Mm-hmm. I can see that perfectly well, but it's true that I don't see the dancing or the nightclub or all of that you're saying. So for me, there is a lot of information that I'm not saying that you have to be obvious and you have to see that it's una discoteca, and you know, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you have to give more clues to the person that is looking to the image to realize what's going on. And because if not, it's like a silhouette with the slowest speed, you know, like that's what I can see there. I cannot see farther. I cannot see and I really like all what you say, but actually I cannot see that in the image. So that's why I was saying, like, sometimes you have to help to the viewer a little bit what's going on. And actually, if you want to talk about youth, about all this savage or strength or act like you're much more active when you're young, and all this freedom, in the image you have to, or maybe not in one image, maybe it's a series that they complement ones with the others, but the ones that you showed me, there were like 4 like that, and they were more or less like not the same, but the same thing, like what's going on. So I was like, I'm not really sure. That's why sometimes, for example, what I realized that when you want to say something, some things they have to be clear, some things they have to be a little bit more subtle. But if it gets in the middle, it's just a little bit like confusing. But yeah. I really like the project itself, but I cannot get all the things that you were saying.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your comments, but I guess that exactly what you're trying to say in this case is that, well, the 4 pictures that I chose were exactly chosen for the mistake, chance, repetition submission, which is something that it's always hard for me as a person. I'm not really into segmenting my work. You know, it's more like a personal process. And these 4 photographs that I sent to you were picked among, I've been working on this project now for almost 5 years, and it's still going on. So the idea is to eventually publish a series of how do you call it, scenes or photo books. Yes. And yeah, well, once you get to see the whole project, what you're missing right now, what you're trying to say that you didn't see on these pictures, it is seen in the whole project. And in this case, I guess in my case, for me, it's always really difficult to try and understand. I mean, it's impossible for me to guess what it is that, in this case, Naroa is looking for when she is receiving pictures for an online exhibit. So whenever I'm working on a personal project, I try to not think about anyone else. I try to not think about myself. And it's really more like an emotional process, you know? And I think this picture and my photography in general is not about ideas. It's not about concepts. It's not about understanding anything. It's about capturing and sharing emotions. So I guess for me, it's flattering that you don't see everything in this picture. I don't want you to know. I just want you to feel, you know? In my case, art or photography is about expressing. It's not about information. It's about emotion. And well, that's what I look for whenever I'm experimenting with photography. I'm not trying to get things through. I'm trying to get emotions through to whoever receives this picture. And I guess most importantly, I'm trying to capture my feelings. And in my case, that's what I'm looking for. You know, it's more like an emotional journal than a thought about project. You know, I'm not really inclined in that direction. I'm not the kind of person that plans things and tries to get them clearly through to others.
And also it's different just to see one image than like to see, as you said, if you want to do like a book. Obviously it's different when you have the photo book all together, when you have this narrative, the text, the presentation and everything is much more different. We are just seeing an image and just trying to make some comments and to understand the technique and understand the process and everything. But obviously when you put it in the context, it's really different. Okay, thank you so much, Daniel, for the image. We really love it. It was really, really nice and really, really different we are used to see. And also I choose this one. I mean, you sent the 4 of them and I just choose one for today because I think it was nice. And I'm also working with double exposure, and it was like really trying to figure it out that happened and everything. And it was really nice to share with you. Okay, thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you, Pablo.
We're going for the next one. Is this image here?
Amber.
Now we are with you, Amber.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be with you all today. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
So I guess I'll start with this photo was done by accident. I did not plan to do this process. So I used a Polaroid SX70. It's a camera from the 1970s. And I have this obsession with walls of Astoria. So I just went around taking photos of walls, but this wall in particular is my favorite. Just the windows, and there's a lot of old buildings here in Astoria. There's a lot of history. And so took my camera out, took the photo, and I loved it. And I was like, you know, I think I will do the emulsion lift. Emulsion lifts are something kind of new that I've been playing around with. And so I cut it open, you know, rip it apart, and sadly enough, it started to rip, which I haven't experienced before. This is not my first emulsion. So it started to just like fall apart, and to be honest, I was panicking and like I was getting really frustrated. And then and I just did some self-talk. No, it's okay, let's just, you know, see how it goes. And so it just started ripping, and then the framed pieces that you see were just kind of clumped up on the side. And so I thought, I was like, well, why don't I just make a border around the actual image? And so it, you know, it all just came together, and I fell in love with it. And I plan to make more like this with the Astoria walls. I want to make a project about Astoria walls. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about this photo.
Can I make a question?
Yes.
Why walls?
Why walls?
Yeah.
Walls to me are emotional for me. It translates to, I put up walls emotionally to people. And so I like walls with windows, because for me emotionally, it's like I could put my walls up, but I could look out my windows and see, you know.
Okay, makes sense.
And they're very simple. I kind of like the simplicity of walls, and then you can add anything to it. You can add like a person or like a chair or something and make it interesting. So,
have you got any area of your city or whatever that you prefer, or have you got a favorite wall?
This one is my favorite wall. You know, there's a lot of different walls in Astoria. Like, there's a lot of old buildings, so they look pretty run down, which I like. So I haven't found any other favorite walls yet, except for this one.
No, I mean, like, one of the themes was the repetition, and I think that some photographers, we are obsessed, and we repeat the same image once and again and again and again. If you have the time, in my Instagram, in the first images is always the same alley, one and again and again and again, different days. And also, I think that because every time that you see the wall, you see that particular space, you're in a different mood, and it looks like a kind of a different way. So I think that's why we repeat once and again and again and again the same image, or the same wall, or the same part of the city.
Yeah, exactly. There is this really cool alleyway in Astoria that I've taken multiple photos of too. It does change the mood and it changes your perspective each time you go.
Have you tried doing like with different formats in the way of doing one Polaroid, then doing, I don't know, cyanotype, then doing different formats, like different, like from 35 to 10A or whatever? Have you tried that?
I've only tried that with my Lomo Instant Wide camera. I only do instant photography.
Oh, okay.
I used to do like digital and stuff. I haven't tried the cyanotypes, but it sounds really interesting and I'd like to experiment with that more. I'm kind of like the type of film photographer where I just see things that I think is like would be really beautiful in a photo and I just take it. But lately I've been really getting into emulsion lifts and I do want to experiment more with manipulating the film and adding different materials to it. So yeah.
Cool. Sounds cool.
Nice. Nice. Thank you so much for this image. I think we need tons of them. I have seen Naroa work just repeating the same and the same and the same. And it can be really, really a great idea to repeat this.
Yeah, I've got like the same cactus, like I don't know how many places.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Thank you so much. As I got on here this morning, I thought, I should do a project of these like crazy emulsion lifts of just walls and put it all together.
Why not? I think it would be a good idea. And also to mix them, maybe you can try to mix a couple of them and see what happens with this when you are mixing like in the motion lift, you can just mix like this different
like making layers,
yes, of different buildings. That can be also a good idea, like to mix.
Yes. Thank you.
Making
so
double
much.
exposure.
What was that?
Pablo is always with the double exposure, so he wants to put layers and layers and like that.
Okay. Yeah, I thought about that too, like taking two separate photos and then doing like making my own double exposure with the lifts.
Yeah.
So that would be fun.
Yes.
But thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful to be given this opportunity.
Thank you so much for being here, for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have now Laura. Are you there, Laura?
Oh, okay. Yes, I am here. I am listening to you all and I am learning a lot. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Because all you are sharing is a lot of knowledge for me. This is a picture that doesn't make, sorry, my English is, but it is not part of a series or an investigation or a project. It is just me learning to do pinhole camera, and so making lots of mistakes all the time. I am out. What?
That's part of the process of learning, also making mistakes.
Yes, and I enjoy it so much. And I love this part of the pinhole camera and the lumen print and the solidographies, that you put the paper and you just have no control, and then you look the image that turn out, and they are always surprising you, because you can count how many seconds, and now you put the pinhole, but you can't see it for a while, for a time you are like blind, waiting what is going to appear. And I don't know, I really love that part of taking these pictures. So here I make this photo with a pinhole with a tea lata can, and with paper, and I make an quite correct exposure. But then when I put the paper in the liquids, it was too much time. So here are the lines that what it is the mistake, or not.
One little question, one little thing. When I say like projects, or when you have a series of images, when I talk about a research, is not something that you need to know in advance. I mean, like sometimes you don't even know what you're doing on the way, and when you put all the images on the table, you start thinking, oh, what's going on here? You know what I mean? It's not something that I'm gonna talk about. When I started making my work, I wasn't thinking about talking about the sense of touch. It came on the process. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just testing liquid emulsion, doing on fabric, using different negatives, using different. I made the first one with portraits. The next ones were the cacti. So when you say like this image is done with the pinhole camera and it's just one image that I did, is the first of many of them that you're gonna do. And at some point you're gonna realize, oh, I'm making only pictures of this, or I'm focusing all my attention on, I don't know, whatever, you know, like flowers, or and you realize that you are onto something. And then that is when you have to get curious and you say, maybe with all of this, I'm talking about, I don't know what. And then you get like, you start the research about all the things that they are coming to your head while you're doing also the pictures or the images. So it's not something like, I'm going to talk about this and now I'm going to do a project. People, some of them, they do like that. Some of them, just the opposite. They start doing things and in a very unconscious way, they start doing this project, and then they realize that they have an amount of pictures to make a book, to make, you know. So don't worry about not having a project. You are the project, you are the process. You just starting doing pinhole and you're gonna do a lot of them. You're gonna make a lot of these mistakes. I was thinking about at some point making a book of mistakes, like a huge book with all my mistakes. That could be a project too. So
nice one.
You know, sometimes you never know when it's gonna appear all that, you know, all these things and say, this is kind of something, you know. It's for me, it's very intuitive. And then it's when I start the research. But I never know what I'm doing at the first minute, never. So don't worry.
Okay. Thank you. It's nice to know that, because sometimes there is like a pressure of, well, you have to know what you are going to say and what are you working on now, and I like that idea to maybe we don't know and we discover it doing.
Yeah.
Okay, something else that you want to say, Laura, about your work? If not, I think it was an interesting debate. You sent other images.
No, I think
I also choose this one because I thought it was interesting.
Okay, no, I think it is enough. It is a carousel. It was closed because of the pandemic. So I think it was the day they were cleaning it and like, well, we are going to prepare to open it again.
Okay, nice. Okay, thank you so much, Laura. We are going to go to the next one, that is Bridget. Bridget is correct?
Yes.
With this chemigram.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. This was so much fun last year to do, so I'm really happy to be back. So this piece comes from, I was asked to create a piece for a show, for a group show about our fears. So I had to pick a fear of mine, and we had some limitations about how it should be made. And I picked my most irrational fear, which is I'm afraid to be in the way of motion. So for example, at the grocery store, I can't push a cart because I'm so big and there's people everywhere. I always just want to get out of the way of motion. And it's just a strange feeling. So I started thinking about the feeling of wanting to make myself small and just be out of the way. So I wanted this whole piece, and it's actually this piece that's hanging on the wall here, but so it's made of chemograms. And of course, chemograms have no film, no camera involved. It's just a resist, some kind of resist on the paper, and light and chemistry. And the thing I love about chemograms is they're so subject to chance and they're hard to control, but yet I was trying to control the outcome. I wanted a piece in the center that was very tight lines of that feeling of trying to like make myself small. And I thought I knew what I needed for a resist to achieve that, but I did not. So there's so many of these, and it took a couple of months, and I was getting very frustrated. They were all wrong, wrong for what I needed, but they really just turned into their own kind of beautiful little thing there. So I liked the idea of having these kind of like rules set that, they're all 4x4, and I'm just, painting different resists on. Like, this was definitely not what I was going for, but they became their own little series that I really appreciated because they varied so much visually. So I eventually got to one that, was probably close enough to what I wanted, but it became a good lesson with, a lot of my artwork. I am trying to, at least for part of the process, to let go of control. And I think I was trying to control too much. But in the end, I kind of got this gift of another little series of these squares and this exploration of, being able to let go and just see what the resist wants to give me. So that's, I think any good lesson in chemograms is just to let go and give up to chance. But thankfully I did get a piece that came out of it that I can exhibit now. What else?
Naroa, do you have any question?
I was really curious when I saw the images. I really liked them, but I wasn't sure what was going on. So I was like, what size are there? And now what you're showing me, I was like, oh, that's in. You put them all in a grid, it will be amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, it goes a lot to the abstract that I think is in photography is quite difficult. I always try to get to the abstract, and I get like messier stuff. I don't do anything that looks like nice or that I like. And these ones, they were like some kind, what you say, like this idea of fluid, but at the same time restricted. And I was like, what's going on? And when you explain about this motion and this fear, I was like, yeah, I'm getting it now.
Yeah.
And it looks like, yeah, you got it. I think that you got it. You really got it.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it is something that like, you know, one on their own could be curious, but I do think it's best to see them all, just to see the variety of like this one's so weird, you know.
They were like, wow, okay, cool, they're really cool.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Bridget. It's really nice to have you here again. I hope to have you also for the next Experimental Photo Festival. We really want you, I just want to explain everyone this story, but we really want Bridget to come for the last festival to make a workshop on chemigrams, because people is really interested in this technique, and you can really create amazing things with that. I would really love to be able to go one day to a workshop of you on chemigrams. Hope that's possible for the next summer, because the results are amazing.
Thank you.
I was only gonna ask, what chemistry do you use? Is this bleach or?
It's just plain old developer. I use Sprint brand, so it's developer and fixer. That's it.
Okay, easy.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's
Easy
easy
and nice.
and
Easy
Yeah,
in the
and
sense of that there are not many like different kind of chemistry. That's what I'm saying.
right, and you have
It's
to do
very
it.
useful. You can do. Okay, cool.
And you have to do it in the light. You know, it's not. So it's nice that you don't have to have a traditional darkroom to do it. So, yeah, it's a great process.
Cool.
Okay, thank you so much. We are going
Thank
for
you.
the next one. Is this one from Silva, France? As he or she was going out and in. I don't know if you are there.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm not really good at speaking English, so I don't know.
Don't worry, just try to do your best. Don't worry.
If I can speak in Spanish, please.
Okay, you can make, puedes hacer una explicación corta y puedo traducirte, no hay problema.
Ok, gracias, thanks. Bueno, de este trabajo es una fotografía de pinhole. Nace de una experimentación de prueba de una cámara que está en fase de construcción, de 3 pinholes, de 3 lentes, se podría decir.
Ok, espera un segundo que voy a traducir directamente. This is a new camera that he's experimenting with. He has 3 pinholes and he's like doing the same image at the same time. He's experimenting to create this new camera.
Sí, y bueno, es desarrollada en un rollo de 35 milímetros. En sí, como te digo, era una prueba y es hecha en condiciones de luz bastante fuerte. Y lo que me asombra de todo es, de toda esta foto, es que es hecha como un cartón súper fino, está hecho con un material bastante fino y que tenga una resistencia fuerte a las condiciones de luz y que haya soportado la entrada de luz, me asombra mucho.
¿Qué es lo del cartón que no entiendo?
Es como una pasta de los que pones en los folios, en las carpetas.
Sí, pero esto es para qué, para hacer la cámara o para hacer el agujero.
Cámara, sí, es hecha con material alternativo, sí, como un folio.
¿Pero la cámara o el agujero?
La cámara.
Ah, ok.
Desarrollada
Can you help me with the translation? The camera was done with what's the
very
name?
very thin cupboard. Like,
Yes. It's like a self-made camera with alternative materials. And he's surprised because it's a 35 millimeters camera and it gets a lot of light. And he was surprised that the result was so interesting due to that.
Sí, igual todo el proceso de la construcción de la cámara, el desarrollo de la fotografía en sí, todo ha sido con materiales alternativos. Y es buscar mucho porque en Ecuador no tenemos los materiales que encontramos en otros lados de fotografía análoga y tenemos esta facilidad. Es un rollo, el que dispara es un rollo caducado del 96, entonces también se puede ver esto y me encanta la imperfección de la imagen porque mi trabajo va un poco con esto de repensar la imagen, de no mostrarla tal como es, sino cuestionarte cuando la veas.
Claro. He's saying that he's really happy with this result, and that he's working with other alternative materials, because in Ecuador, where he's from, it's really hard to find like the materials that we can have in other rich countries of the world. And he's doing like a big research to try to find these alternative materials for doing his camera. He's also doing this project related with like seeing the image in a different way, in a different point of view, and he's like trying to experiment on that way.
Y bueno, eso, igual contarles a todos que dentro de eso también estoy muy feliz de poderles compartir esta imagen, porque junto a Tania, que es la ganadora de la exposición, que está dentro de la exposición, tenemos un colectivo en la ciudad en la que estamos, y pues nada, eso.
Bueno, súper. ¿Naroa tiene alguna pregunta o algo?
Sí, el tema de la cámara, cuando has dicho que está hecha con cartón, ¿es alguna razón especial que la hayas hecho con cartón en vez de metal, que por ejemplo suele ser como más fácil?
Sí, lo que pasa es que estaba maquetando como que las cámaras. No tengo la cámara encendida para mostrarles. Déjenme, les muestro. Suelo trabajar muchos prototipos con muchos pinhole. Y bueno, dentro de esto está como que esto de que es de 2 lentes, 2 pinhole. Este es de 4 pinholes. Entonces puedes ver esta. Que es
vale, que puedes meter como varios. Vale.
Y esta es con la que hice la cámara, que es los 3 pinhole.
Yes, Naroa was asking why he was working with this cardboard and not with the typical wood or metal that we are used to see.
Yo he solido ver las que son las que son redondas, las latas redondas, y hacerle agujero por los 4 lados, ya sabes, así como para...
Sí, claro, también se trabaja.
También le puedes poner 3 delante y hacer un curvo, que también sería como bastante caña.
Sí, tengo uno de fotógrafos etnopeicos, de unos chicos de Argentina, si no me equivoco, que ellos trabajan con esto y me enviaron uno para trabajarlo, y estoy en proceso de ver cómo serán los resultados. Ya ando en esto. El desarrollo de la fotografía etnopeica para mí es hermoso, estoy en ese proceso y jugándolo y todo.
Sí, hay una chica bueno, yo porque conozco en España, en el norte, hay una chica, te lo voy a poner en el chat, que se llama Nagore Legarreta.
Listo.
Que hace hasta con cajas de cerillas. Entonces lo que hace es... ¿Perdona?
Sí, es increíble ver cómo pueden trabajar con ello.
Y entonces el carrete va casi por fuera, o sea, solo pasa la película por medio de la cajetilla de cerillas, y ahí es donde está el agujerillo y ahí es donde se hace la imagen.
Claro, ¿sabes? Igual tengo una pinhole que he trabajado con el estuche de los 35 milímetros. Es como súper linda y tengo por disparar aquí. Igual con las cajas de las pastillas de los medicamentos. La cuestión de la etnopeica es un mundo infinito, ¿no? Puedes experimentar con todo lo que es posible siempre y cuando sea una caja oscura. Y soy como que de las personas que te experimentan con todo. Tengo igual por ahí para jugar con algunas cosas de...
¿Sabes? Además que cuanto más plana es más angular, y cuanto más larga es más tele.
Ajá, sí, es más tele, exacto.
Eso también es súper divertido.
They are talking about different aspects of pinhole photography.
Yeah, sorry, I get like really curious. I'm not into pinhole. I've got only one. No, sorry, 2, and I've got one that is a 10/8 that actually is done with an oven pan, and it's really amazing. I put like it's really funny, but it's like a 10/8, and I put like a 10/8 slide, and I cross-process it, and it came out really well. ¿Me has entendido? Tengo una cámara que es 10x8, que es como una placa así, casi un folio, y está hecha con una, ¿cómo se dice? Con una bandeja de estas de horno.
Igual le haces un pinhole o utilizas un lente, porque está...
Es un pinhole, es un 400, un F400.
Un F400, claro, sí, el F debe ser bastante grande, porque el máximo de F que he tenido es 225 en mi caso.
Tengo como 45 minutos de exposición.
Claro, sí, debe ser un montón. Debes tener como un soporte bien puesto para que te aguante el tiempo. Pero qué hermoso, está hermosa. Sería genial que me permitas ver esa cámara o poder conocer todo esto, porque igual tengo una variedad de cámaras increíbles en Pinhole, igual con papel, igual para poder experimentar, trabajar también con el positivado en contacto.
Son muy
Y
bonitos.
todo esto, porque tenemos un laboratorio acá, como mencionaba, bueno, hay una ciudad acá en Ecuador que se llama Loja, en la cual literal tenemos como que los residuos del material análogo, nos llegan materiales caducados, revelamos con Dectol, no podemos revelar con D76 o con otros reveladores. Entonces,
Bueno, aquí también utilizamos el Dectol, ¿eh? O sea, no te creas que...
acá nos llega así como ya. ¿Y por qué no tenemos la oportunidad de comprar el D76? Entonces, es todo esto que es súper lindo poder crear y ver que también cuando no tienes muchas cosas y te llena el espíritu de hacer fotos,
Te vuelves muy
creas tus
creativo.
propios medios.
Sí, hemos hecho una conferencia sobre esto que se llama Fotografía Alternativa en diferentes países durante el festival y es súper interesante esta discusión. Muchísimas gracias, Franz, Ramon, y Narva, for this debate. We are going to go for the last one because we're just we must be finishing this first part in some point now.
Sorry about that.
And then we can just get started with the debate. Okay, we have the last one. Then we are going to have time for debate. Samail, that's correct? The pronunciation?
Yes, it's correct.
Correct? Great.
You call me Samail or Sama?
Okay, Sama. Welcome home.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. And okay, this photograph is part of the series. I call it. I name it Clamor o simplemente un error, Autopsy or simply an error. It's born of necessary to continue exploring and expanding the possibilities of the abstraction of photography, time, and landscape. I'm very into in landscape, and it's not only the landscape I see, it's the landscape I related to. You know? On my previous work, I work in the place that I live. You know? In this series, I work more. I expanded the landscape and see what is the internal landscape. You know? It's more like feelings and emotions and more like I want to read because it's more easy to me. Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, it's autopsy or simply an error born of the necessity to continue to exploring and expanding the possibilities and abstraction, the photography, time, and landscape. More than places, there are ideas. Time to exist, to be honest, before the idea to conceive, to contemplate internal landscape. The degradation and intervention of the photographic paper favors of sort of alchemy, revealing the possibilities of imperfection, recognition of and appropriation of doubt, error, and imperfection as part of the creative process. And it's more like accept the mistake, you know, and chance and repetitions, you know? and it's a mix solargraph and well this is a es una solarigrafía esta fotografía. It's the time of the exposure is 1 year and
okay.
es la más larga que he tenido, ¿no? Entonces, y también fue la primera, perdón, pero fue la primera y es como, wow, para mí fue increíble, ¿no? Y también como ese proceso de la espera también, como ver qué es lo que va a salir y cómo yo lo voy a interpretar, ¿no? También.
Let me translate. This is her first and longest solarography. She was really surprised about the result, and also of this process with solarography of being waiting, of having this feeling of waiting also was really surprising for her. And it's something really nice about this technique, just being able to wait. I have one there in my terrace for 1.5 years, and I'll always, when I'm walking to the street, I know that there is a camera there, and I'm just waiting for taking it out.
Yeah, no sé, es muy interesante también ese proceso de ir, de esperar y ver como esa revelación, ¿no? Se me hace como algo muy, no sé, algo muy interesante. También, al igual que Ramón, uso también la fotografía estenopeica, y últimamente he estado como experimentando también dentro del cuarto oscuro, y no sé, también ha sido como un proceso de liberación también, usar como estos conceptos, ¿no? Como el error, como la basura también, ¿no? Usar como estas latas de soda, trabajo mucho con papel caducado, entonces no sé, como usar como estos elementos que están fuera de lo normal, por así decirlo, me parece también muy interesante, y ir, no sé, es como decir, oye, pues estoy haciendo foto con pequeños elementos, no necesito una cámara, ¿no? Entonces, se me hace muy interesante.
Naroa, do you have a question?
I really like this idea of the waiting, of the revelation of what's going on there and what's going to happen. I think that I have a limit for that. I cannot wait 1 year, I think. I think that, for me, is also, I work as a photography technician, so every time that I process film, it's just this revelation about doing all the process, all the chemistry, what's gonna be there. And I really like that idea. Also, I think that it's brave to try to not control and see what happens, and introduce this chance and this error as part of our work, in the sense of being brave enough of be a little bit out of control, like soltarse la melena, like, okay, let's see what happens. And I think that, to be honest, I think that women, we are more into that men. I'm sorry, it's my experience. I think that men want, in photographers, they are more into control, into know what they're doing every single second. And I think that we are more into, let's say what happens, why not? And then have a really nice day saying, oh, look this really nice mistake I did, like, because part of the process, and it's liberating. That's what you said, like, it's liberating on I know the rules, okay, I know the rules, I know how to do this, but actually I want to try something different, and I want to just see what happens. And I think
es un poco como celebrar los errores, ¿no?
Yeah.
Es mucho eso, y siento que la fotografía estenopeica, sí, es todo es un mundo, y te ofrece muchísimas cosas. Entonces yo apenas estoy iniciando, pero es como que cada vez que veo una caja es como, ¡oh! Es una posibilidad.
The box is a camera.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Sama. It was really nice to meet you, and also to know your project and your work. Thank you so much also, Naroa, for all the comments. It was really, really amazing to have your opinion, and I think everyone is going to learn a lot from this. We are going to do 2 things at the same time, okay? We are going to go to the groups, but I'm going to choose them manually, for being able just to mix the Spanish and the English right in the same group, just to being able to debate in your mother tongue. That's going to take some time. And I'm just going to put you a question. You can just go, like Naroa asked me, just a 2 or 3 minutes rest. You can just go to the bathroom to take something to eat or drink or whatever, a break, but don't take out your camera or anything. We are just going to get back in a couple of minutes, and you are going to be in a group with the question, okay? We are going to have 20 minutes or 25 minutes to have a debate. Just someone is going to pick the question and trying to moderate the debate, and just take some notes about what you have been debating. And then we are just going to come back to the big group and just try to share some of the big ideas just to finish this meeting with a lot of new ideas. Okay, we are 16 people. I think we are just going to do 3 groups. That is going to be enough for having like 5 people or something in each of them. Okay, I'm going to create the groups. See you in a couple of minutes.
Hay errores que surgen en el proceso y te ayudan a abrir caminos, y hay errores al final que dices, vaya cagada, ¿no? O sea, hay diferentes. Eso es de lo que quería hablar un poco. ¿Cómo entendéis el error?
Es una pregunta, venga, responder.
Es
Daniel,
una pregunta
Fran,
y necesito
Sama.
respuestas.
Ahora ya se puede hablar en español, ¿cierto? O sea, para mí el error es un aprendizaje. Para mí el error es un aprendizaje completo. De los errores aprendes un montón, y del error en error vas quizás sacando tu propio método o tu propia tabla de cómo deberías armar tu propia foto, tu edición de foto o tu trabajo final. Para mí sí, el error es mi base fundamental para empezar a trabajar casi la mayoría de proyectos o cosas que hago. Y es lindo porque al inicio te cuesta y te duele, pero después aprendes como que a verle este gusto y a verle este lado positivo de que claro, me equivoqué en esto, entonces es por tal razón, y empiezas a justificar y aprender un montón de cosas.
Sí, creo que justo como comenta Franks, dentro de los procesos fotográficos, como que el error podría decirse que no existe tal cual como un error, sino como que el aprendizaje fotográfico es así como ecléctico, digamos, no es siempre lo mismo, depende de muchísimas variables, ¿no? Tantas que es imposible, ¿no? Que todos aprendamos igual o que todos tomemos las fotografías de la misma forma. Entonces creo que sí, justo en lo que se podría considerar el proceso de tomar fotos, creo que el error pues puede llegar a ser un gran aliado, ¿no?
I spent almost all my time photographing in my garden, you know, kind of the decaying flowers. I've been sort of grieving for some time now because my oldest son died, and I think it kind of impacts me. So just with the combination of that and the pandemic, I was photographing my flowers, and I kept creating different projects, different iterations of the projects. And I came upon this idea of the shadows seemed more important than the flowers. And I started doing this project, which is in the show. And I kind of got the idea of it from this artist. She's a famous artist in the United States. Her name is Betty Saar. She's like 90 now. She's an African-American artist. And when she makes a lot of her collages, I got a grant and I worked with her for a year. She intentionally cuts shapes, and then she throws the shapes away, and she makes herself use the scraps to make her artwork. Like, she forces herself to use the mistakes to create work. And she says it's kind of like we all have our own handwriting, and she just, you know, she wanted to go in a different direction and kind of cross off that handwriting and force a different kind of handwriting. So what I did in this series is in Photoshop, I take my images and I literally delete the subject. So I delete wherever I photograph the images in strong light and shadow, and then I delete wherever there's sunshine. So it's this repetitive, really meticulous removal using a paintbrush in Photoshop. And I have no idea whatsoever what the finished product is going to be. You know, I'm completely working with chance. And then when I get the finished piece, it's not, you know, it's not really finished to me because I had no hand in it in a way, and I didn't create it completely. So what I do is I print the image again and I cut it up and I add the collage of it, and then I sew on the image. I actually sew on the paper. to make the image more material, but to make it work for me in the end. So it's like a really long process.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of repetition in it, and there's a lot of chance in it, and there's all kinds of mistakes. Like I can make a whole image and it just doesn't work then. I sewed on it too much, or the sewing it ripped or something. So there's lots of mistakes going on too, until I get something that really works for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, the title of this project was just perfect for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're like all the above, yes.
Yeah. I mean, and I just want to add, I have so loved hearing everybody speak because, you know, I'm so used to being in Zooms with very similar kinds of people. And, you know, everybody seems to be from different countries now. I've traveled a lot, and I actually lived in Spain for a year when I was young on Ibiza. And I've been to a lot of South American countries. I also lived in Mexico for a while. So it's very exciting to me to hear so many young people coming in from all different places, talking about their work and their experiments.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone else want to talk about first question? Monica, your work?
I don't speak really well English. How did these three concepts interrelate in your work? Well, I think all the time when I take photographs, it's like a kind of game all the time. Maybe I have an idea, but just start with this game and play. And one thing, I don't know how to say, una cosa me lleva a la otra.
Mm-hmm. One thing influences
the
The next one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a game, and in the game I experiment. So in the first idea, when I start to take the photos, I have something in mind, but then with these experiments there are a lot of mistakes, and I repeat if there's something, if there are, I don't know, maybe the light or the shadows or something that I liked of the photograph, I repeat. I try. I forgot the words in English.
Say it in Spanish.
Trato de
Translate for you, don't worry.
Trato de repetir, o sea, si algo me gustó de la fotografía que tomé,
If you love something from the image,
ajá,
sí.
trato de repetir para ver si me sale de otra manera, pero como
Try
con
to repeat it,
pues,
see if
las
it's
mismas
easy.
iluminaciones o algún efecto similar, no sé, sobre todo con larga exposición o cosas así.
Okay.
Me gusta como ese como
You like the
efecto.
long exposure and also changing the lights and everything. Perdona, Mónica, te he puesto en este grupo porque como he visto tu apellido como si fuese inglés, pensé que era inglés y te he puesto aquí, perdón.
No. It's good for me to try to speak in English and think in English, because yes, I can understand, but I didn't practice a lot, so
That's the thing.
it's good
Yes,
for me.
also for the festival, we are also having this debate because we're in Spain, but we are like an English-speaking community, and in the end, everyone is like trying to be the whole year like practicing for being able to come to the festival and speak with everyone. I think it's a great exercise. I mean, in the end, it would be also nice to have like different languages, but at least we need to be able to speak English, at least to share with everyone. One thing with that is that for the next festival, we are thinking on doing some conferences on different languages, in Catalan, in French, and in German. Probably we are going to be debating about the future of photography, but not to do it in English, you know, just to let like the German community, just to get in at least 5 or 6 people, just to talk about this in their mother tongue, because we really realize like the debate is like really different, you know. In some point you are like closing the borders with other people that don't speak German, like me and probably you. But anyway, because they need to have this debate in their own mother tongue. Anyway, this was another thing, but it's hard, but it's good also to be working with different languages and making these efforts. Everyone is doing it. Thank you so much, Monica. Okay, you can just keep going, Bridget, sorry.
Yeah, did anybody else? Well, you know, I might suggest something. I love the last question. Is a mistake made on purpose a mistake or a success? I don't know if anybody else wants to, you know, speak to the first, but with the time we have left, I don't know, I would really like to hear what people think about that.
I can go. Oh, sorry.
You go first.
Okay. Were you asking about the last question? Is mistake made on purpose? For me, I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I don't ever try not to make mistakes on purpose. Usually, you know, like with the image that was shown, that was definitely by accident. And there's another lift on my Instagram. It's of the Cannon Beach Haystack Rock, and it kind of looks like a puzzle. That was made by accident as well. And doing that image, I was really sad. But sometimes the mistakes, like, it turns out so wonderful that, you know, kind of you just gotta go with the flow with that kind of thing. So that's my input on that.
Yeah. And well, you know, what we talked about right as the group opened up, and not everybody was here yet, but Morgan was speaking, and unfortunately I used to be Morgan's professor, so she was saying some things that I would talk about in class about the idea, like, I'm always trying to teach students to gain some sense of control over their process, in part because you're in school, you know, and so I don't know, maybe because that gives you a better sense of being able to get to your concept when you have control over a process. But on the other hand, I think mistakes are a really necessary part of getting to that control, or maybe you just decide that your lack of control is your process, right? So that's where I wonder, you know, is a mistake made on purpose just a mistake, or when can it be a success? And I think, you know, Morgan was dancing around like some of my babbling in class about stuff like
I
that.
think they're great happy accidents. Like, are mistakes intentional? And then when you have them, how do you do it again? Like, that's the hard part, right? Excuse me, I tried to eat a cookie and that backfired.
What I think is so interesting about photography is when I think of the history of photography, so much of it is about control and technique. And, you know, like, I always think of, I mean, we're mostly women here, except for Pablo, but, you know, the male, female, you know, I feel like, you know, the photography was such a male thing, and it was so focused on technique, maybe not because it was a male thing, but maybe because it was a male thing. And for me, I actually come from a printmaking background, and I love the magic in art making, and I feel like you need to take chances to make magic, and you know, you need to and to broaden our horizons. Each of us need to grow, to take chances. And a lot of that has to do with making mistakes and within limitations, you know. Of course, you can't just do whatever you want. You know, there are certain limitations, there are certain techniques that are demanded of all of us. But, you know, making the mistakes and finding a way and finding your own personal direction, kind of, it's almost the same thing, I think.
Mm-hmm. Do you think people are getting more scared to make mistakes? I'm seeing a younger generation, you know, in teaching, where I feel like even teaching 10 years ago, students weren't as afraid to try things as they are now. Like everything's like, oh, I can't do it wrong, can't do it wrong. And I'm just curious if anybody else has experienced
Out of
that.
lack of problem solving, of the fear of making a mistake, if they don't know how to work through it. So you want to get it right the first time?
Maybe. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's resources. Like I have to think about how, you know, photo paper is a lot more expensive now than it was even 10 years ago or 20 years ago. You know, maybe students have stresses financially that are more prominent now than they, so in other words, like, I think like, yeah, just jump in the darkroom, try it out. But, you know, am I being insensitive to like, paper's expensive? Like, so yeah, I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's
I'm seeing it in my
problem
digital
solving.
class, like even in digital photography with my students, like it's the, you got to get out of your own way. That's what I'm seeing. Getting in your own way. You're thinking it has to be right, but it's your first idea is not usually where you're going to end, right? So you have to go through these makes in this process, and then it starts speaking to you. But I think it's a fear of, we have to get this right the first time and it must be done this way, instead of questioning why. That's what I'm not hearing. You know, I'm told it has to be in developer for so long. Why? Why can't I do it longer? Or why can't I do it less? That's what I'm seeing. The question isn't happening of challenging. They're just taking it as it is, and that's the only way.
So I think there's something else, but I think this is something in the United States, and I don't know if it's something in Spain or South America or other places, but in the United States, there's this concept in photography of, you know, you have to have a portfolio and it has to be 20 images and they all have to be similar. They have to be the same size paper. They have to be the same, they have to all be either horizontal or vertical, because it's too hard for a reviewer to look at them. And I think that really limits people. And again, I'm curious if this is just in the United States or it's everywhere else, but I think that it keeps people from taking chances.
Well, for sure, this institutionalization of photography is going against, obviously, the way that we can really take into doing different things. For example, we, as the festival, we are not really photographers. I mean, none of them, of the workers of the festival, we are not really photographers. You know, we didn't went to the university to accept and to be with all these kind of rules that you have to follow. We're just doing whatever we think is the best for our community. If this is not respectful with the laws of the traditional black and white photography in the 60s, we don't really care, you know, and that's the thing. But that's also another problem, because we have the second course of the Agora based on the message, because we realized that experimental photographers in this case, they were just focused on the aesthetics, okay? Because they were not able to see that we need to find a message. This is like the next step. But I was reflecting on that, and I said, okay, but this is also a problem because there are no institutions on experimental photography. You know, in some point when we start this idea that you said, there are an institution that is asking for a portfolio of 20 images and a text with 500 words. If there are no market, if there are no institutions for experimental photography, there are no way that people make any idea of how they have to work, you know, to present to these kind of groups. That's why the traditional photography really knows how to do things and how to connect with this institution, but we don't have institutions. I mean, We are the festival, we have created this community and everything, but we are not selling photography. For example, we don't have galleries or anything that they are really like 100% selling on. If we do have one in some point, for sure people is just going to work with what they want. That's something weird, but it's good and it's bad at the same time, because we can take into account the errors and do different things, because we don't really care, because they are not like, we are not going anyway. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not that Bridget now is in the MoMA, okay, she's just famous, she just won and blah, blah, blah. No, there are no way to get into these kind of institutions. You know, there are not rules to follow, because there are not any way to go. And I mean, that's perfect, because we are really free to do whatever we want. But this is also hard because we don't know what the rules are, you know?
Right. Well, you have to make your own rules.
Sure, sure.
But I think the one thing that I think is important though is that whatever you do, it you know, experimenting is wonderful, but I think that the most important thing is at the same time to personalize that experimentation. In other words, you know, 100 people can make cyanotypes and they can all look alike, but how do you make a cyanotype that really says something about who you are? It's like, you know, it's a statement, it's different and it's personal. And I think that experimentation and personalizing have to kind of go hand in hand.
Or just learning what your own message is. And, you know, I agree in that. It's funny because I have met many photographers running different critique groups that you always have the people who want to talk, like they put an image on the table and they want to talk about what lens they were using and what f-stop they were using and all that kind of stuff. And that is boring to me. But then I've wondered, like, here's my chemogram. I put it in the developer for 2 minutes and I'm nervous, like, am I that person just with, you know, all, so it's not enough to just rely on that process. What are you trying to say with it is always the biggest struggle.
Because we're all artists. We're, as far as I'm concerned, we're artists who might use cameras or might not use cameras. We might be making cameraless work, but it's just a process we're using to make our own art, our own personal art.
So are we going to value?
I think we are having like 2 more minutes, I think.
Oh, okay.
It would be nice if you have some like general ideas, or if someone else wants to say something or you have some note or something. We are just going back. I'm just going to tell the other group that we're just finishing, and then in some point we're just going to go automatically to the big group. Okay, just close the debate. Thank you, Bridget.
Okay, thank you.
See you in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Ya que es un constructo de la mente, pues por eso quise también explorar un poco con estas cosas, ¿no? De la solarigrafía, la estenopeica, el cuarto oscuro. Entonces, para mí me sirvió muchísimo como ir encontrando ciertas referentes o ciertas investigaciones o ciertos conceptos. Me ayuda como a tener un norte, ¿no? Haz de cuenta como que de dónde irme agarrando, y también mucho es de estar haciendo, ¿no? Sí tengo como que esas dos vertientes.
Naroa, tendríamos que ir al grupo general en 2 minutos.
Vale, bien, yo creo que
¿Sí tiene algunas ideas y todo eso está bien?
Sí, bueno, yo he ido saltando a las preguntas, no sé si he hecho todas. Había una que sí que además era un poco por el trabajo de Tania, que era el tema de la diferencia entre repeticiones y variaciones. ¿Entendéis? O sea, quiero decir, yo cuando hablo de repeticiones como siempre lo mismo, pero sí que es verdad que muchos experimentals que trabajan el tema de la repetición, lo que hacen al final son variaciones, que es un poco, por eso he preguntado antes, ¿has hecho la misma a la chica de las paredes? Por eso le he preguntado, ¿has hecho la misma pared con diferentes formatos, en blanco y negro, color, tal, no sé qué? Porque a mí me daba mucho cuando empecé en la fotografía hacer la misma foto en todas las cosas que se me ocurriesen. para ver cómo la misma imagen podía variar o ser diferente en los diferentes formatos. ¿Eso lo habéis hecho o es solo una cosa rara mía que me da?
Bueno, yo ahorita estoy, en el lugar donde anteriormente vivía, en Tijuana, había un cerro, entonces hice unas variaciones fotografía del cerro así muchas veces en diferentes, con soligrafía también, con la estenopeica, entonces es como ver también y cómo se va deslavando, ¿no? Esa imagen. Y ahorita estoy como en proceso de trabajar algo aquí en Ensenada, pues también con otro cerro. No sé, es como que esa constante de que cerros, cosas con piedras, es que mucho aquí también en Baja California es como que una constante. Entonces, no sé, y ahorita me hizo pensar mucho esa pregunta, que pues estoy trabajando mucho con cerros, no sé, algo ha de significar.
Sí.
Sí.
A mí por lo menos me funciona muy bien el Google, o sea, yo muchas veces pongo, yo qué sé, obsesión con yo qué sé, con los cerros y a ver qué pone. Igual te aparece alguien que ha hecho una investigación sobre los cerros, ¿sabes? Y nunca sabes, o sea, es que además son cosas que, y a partir de ahí, pues yo qué sé, hay mitología alrededor de eso, hay dioses, hay cosas que yo qué sé, que leyendas, todo lo que sea alrededor de eso, y que hay autores y autoras que igual han trabajado ese tema desde los diferentes aspectos, desde el biológico, naturista, yo qué sé, hasta el psicológico, mitológico, yo qué sé, de lo que sea, es que no son cualquier cosa, ¿sabes? Sí. Y ahí es donde la curiosidad es donde mata al gato, porque entonces ya te vuelves loco, empiezas a mirar otras cosas y ya te pierdes en la locura pero a la vez, como comentaba él, ¿no? Que refuerza y va a reforzar absolutamente todo lo que hagas a nivel fotográfico, ¿sabes? Que alguien más, otro loco del cerro, se le ha ocurrido hablar sobre eso antes que tú y mira, pues no soy la única persona que habla de este tema o que le interesa este tema o que ve que este tema es importante. Y no solo eso, sino que he encontrado todo esto que lo corrobora. A mí eso, yo por ejemplo con el tema del tacto llegaba a saber cosas que de otra manera no hubiese sabido, no hubiese llegado allí. Y me flipa. O sea,
muchas gracias.
Yo creo
bueno,
que
vamos al grupo grande, por favor.
Sí, vale.
Que la gente se nos va a dormir en el camino.
In the process of photography, and what's the difference or make a separation between the mistake as part of the process or a mistake in the final piece, yes, in the resulting image. So what I think we all agreed that when it comes to the process, mistakes are an essential part of the learning process of reaching your own techniques, your own way to create your photography. We have to embrace mistakes because there are so many variations involved in the process that it's almost impossible to avoid mistakes. So they can, I mean, we all agreed that mistakes are not specifically mistakes, but they are the beginning of something new. Yes, and that we have to embrace these mistakes and make them part of the process so that we can reach, well, the point that we are trying to. Yeah, we talked about embracing errors and chance as part of the process. And I think something really cool that we talked about was mistake in the resulting image. Somebody, I don't remember who, inside of our debate group said, is the result relatable? If it is, if it transmits what I'm trying to transmit, if it works, then it's not a mistake, you know? It's part of the process, it's part of the resulting image. And again, I think it was just Tanya who said, imagine you're trying to create a specific image and the result was an overexposed image. Don't throw it away. Perhaps use it as a beginning for a new double exposure and mix it with a dark image. And so you have a contrasting result. So I think in general, when we talked about mistake, I guess it's because of our experimental approach to photography. It's always an opportunity to try something new, to reach new results, and it's part of the process. And another thing we talked about was repetition. Does it exist? You know, does repetition exist in photography process? And I think, again, we all agreed that we can have constants. This was a word that Franks used. We can have constants in our process, but repetition is almost impossible. Everything is unique. Yes, we talked about the unique element in the photographic process. I think we all agreed that it's not possible to repeat an image. What you can have is constants which with you work and from which, well, your results come from, but it's almost impossible to control photographic processes to the point of reaching, well, yeah, the possibility to repeat an image. And also Naroa gave us a very good example of how a professional printing company, I think it would be the way to say it, you know, a publisher of books, photographic books, she saw them take a page, you know, a print with mistakes on it, and immediately put it away like in a separate drawer. And she asked them, why did you do that if it's like a flawed, if it's got mistakes on it? And the people from the printing company tell her, it's unique. This image, because of its mistakes, becomes unique. Yes. So why try to repeat something when you can create unique results? Yes, I think the quality of the unique is something that's very present in photographic processes, and well, something that we should try and embrace creatively instead of embracing it as a frustration or as a limit. Is the possibility of, well, yeah, of creating unique photographic results.
Great. Naroa, something else? Did Daniel do a good work?
Yeah, it's fine. We talk about a lot of things more, but I don't want to be like really long. Yeah, it's this idea of also about this mistake that you can see as a negative way or as a positive way. That's it. And I think that in experimental, you always see it as a possibility. Like I think Franz was saying, it's always a learning process. It's always, you're gonna always learn something from the mistake. Sure. And it's true. And sometimes it's true that it's also a little bit frustrating, and you need to deal with that. And also when you are dealing with uncertainty, I mean, like a lot of alternative and experimental processes, they are very uncertain. You don't know what's going to happen, and deal with that in this life nowadays is a really good training. So
okay, I just remember one thing. We're supposed to do a raffle tonight. Okay, we're just going to Hannah Lo Digital raffle before Bridget give us the part of the debate. Okay, I was talking with Hannah, and she's doing this analog films modify. I don't know if you know her, but anyway, you are going to love her. She's amazing. Yes.
Yes.
And she was up to give us a couple of film rolls. Okay.
Woohoo!
Okay, for free. She's going to send the winners. She's really, really nice. She's not here because she's like really like close, like she's really timid, but she was really happy of saying hello to everyone, and also to giving this, as you stay here for 2 hours and 3 minutes at least, it's good that you have a gift. Naroa, I need a number because we are 14 now. You are not able to win because that was cheating. I'm not able to win, but if you give me a number, I'm just going to count people here, and I'm going to say
11, always 11.
11. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Always.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sandra won a film roll from Hannah, and I need another number. The
9.
second one? 9. Monica Macomber, you have also one. Hey, okay, we are going to do a screenshot. Just say like this, and I'm going to do a screenshot. Okay, great. Monica and...
¿Ya no te acuerdas?
No. My brain is dying. Monica and...
¿Qué le has dicho?
Sandra, no?
Yes, Sandra. Okay, great. I'm going to send her an email. Okay, Bridget, are you ready for making a little abstract of what you have been debating?
Yeah, I took some notes here. Our first question was, how did mistake, chance, and repetition, how did they relate in your work? And some of us in the group were presenting today, but other people talked to, and Sandra is in the show. Hope you all saw her work there. And so, she talked a bit about how in photographing these, dying flowers, how she realized that the shadows seemed more important than the flowers themselves. And I thought that was really beautiful. Monica talked a bit about how she sees photographing kind of like a game. And when she, finds something, that's where, finds something that interests her, that's the point where she tries to work on repeating it after that point. Amber talked a little bit about being a perfectionist and struggles with the topics there. So we did talk a little bit about, Sandra brought up how, photography originated kind of like in this, men were the practitioners of photography, and how maybe there was a lot of technical things that were important in the beginning of photography, and how it's, a lot of times it's been about what's correct in terms of your settings, and that she actually came from a printmaking background, and she talked about the magic of that, which I very relate to. I think I'm possibly more of a printmaker than a photographer, but I can't escape light sensitive surfaces and materials. So I related to that, but she talked about, mistakes in that magic, giving you a chance to grow as an artist. And it sounds like you all were speaking of that too. Morgan said, you have to get out of your own way, which I think is great. Because when we expect, a certain thing from ourselves, and we're just limiting ourselves. So, and daguerreotipista, she wrote the phrase "poetics of failures," which I just thought was really beautiful. And our second question, we spent maybe a little more time on that, was, is a mistake made on purpose a success or a mistake? And Morgan threw out there in the chat that she said some of the best alt processes came from a mistake. I don't know if she wanted, I had something that came to my mind with that was, the discovery of solarization, and that story of like the mouse running over Man Ray's assistant's foot, and she turns on the lights. And I was just teaching solarization this past week, and I thought about how, like, I gave my students a handout of steps just to get them familiar with it. But really, like, it just felt so silly because the whole thing originated in like an accident, a mistake. And here I am trying to give them a handout on, how to do it, when really there's so many ways to do it. And we also talked about the idea of, coming up with, as Sandra put it, personalizing your experimentation, and how, a bunch of people could be making cyanotypes, and they are, but how do you make it your own? And that being the real challenge of having a message with that. Morgan, I didn't know if you had a specific idea in mind when you said that about some of the best alt processes came, or was there something you had in mind thinking that? Sorry.
Polarization was one, but also,
Yeah.
aren't chemograms mistakes? Like, was that always intentionally done, or was that a happy accident and someone went, oh crap, what happened to my paper? Oh man,
Right.
that's pretty cool. Can I do that again?
Yeah.
You know, like I had one where I accidentally had cyanotype on a salt print, and I didn't mean to, and it turned out to be one of the best combinations ever. So now I'm intentionally doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Just feel like
Yeah.
anything, it started from a mistake when we experimented and then we decided this was it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if anyone else wants to add or.
No, I used to compare it with cooking. Normally, most of the recipes, they are done because of a mistake. Someone left the pan on the fire, something went wrong, the oven broke, you know, like these kind of things that you cannot control. I only wanted to say that Amand's assistant was Berenice Abbott, that she was one of the best photographers in America, in the United States. And she's the one that she was actually always at the edge of everything, trying to experiment and look out of the box. So she was actually the one. And a lot of things, like also in the Bauhaus with the photogram, she was Lucia Moholy-Nagy, that was Laszlo's partner, wife at that moment, was the one that knew photography, and she was the one that was looking like also out of the box and saying, okay, we're gonna do this, I'm gonna try that. And it's true that Kodak and Ilford and all these manufacturers, they want to control a lot the rules and how things work, because actually what we have said a lot is like you can make mistakes in a lot of different moments of the process. So they wanted just to control, to keep things a little bit like easier for amateurs, for example, instead of being professionals. Okay, a lot of people want to do that, we're gonna do it like, we're gonna make easy rules. It's like computers, they make you easy rules, like you can run it, but actually we don't know how this computer works in the inside, and actually I don't want to know. So sometimes it's just making easier things, but it's true that at some point that can restrict us, that easiness restrict us, and then it looks like you cannot go outside of that, and actually you can go really far. So cool, I'm gonna shut up. I cannot stop. It's like, oh my god.
Okay, Bridget, any other idea?
I'll throw in one last thing that we did talk about. I mean, I kind of brought it up was, I see a lot in my students, more of a reluctance to make mistakes, or like a fear of doing it. Totally. So we talked a little bit about, what could be reasons for that. And because it's something I get concerned about, and I don't know if it's just any one thing. I think there's a lot of factors right now that are contributing to that. We shouldn't be afraid to be wrong.
Yeah, the thing is that when I came here to London, I came to university, my age was like much more, I was like a mature student, as they say here. And so all the kids, they were asking to me instead of asking the technicians, because they were really scared of asking and showing that they didn't know. And I was like, but actually, you cannot know everything. Like, yeah, but it's supposed that I should know this, because it's supposed that you have to know certain things, but they get really scared. I don't really know very well why, but it's actually, I think that also dark rooms, they have been always managed by old white men, and it's true that universities, and they, to be honest, just the other day we were talking about that there is a whole generation, for example mine, that they were into digital, they didn't want analog anymore. So it's true that technicians are old here for example in London, because the whole generation didn't want to know about analog. So now go to the technicians that they are 65, 70, ask him all these things, and they're gonna be like, no, they have no patience. They have been like, like they don't want to, they want just to retire. So it's true that sometimes you ask them and they are like, but it's true that they are here in London, there are new generations of people that they really want to know. Maybe they don't have the knowledge, but they are the best researchers. They know how to find the information so good. I don't know how they do it, but in 2 days I can ask 2 technicians of different places, 20 years, they know everything. In 2 days, they research everything. They know the developer, how it works, blah, 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 blah. Very technical stuff. And I was like, wow, it's really amazing. To be honest, it's coming back. Film is coming back.
Well, it was never.
It's never gone, but I mean, like, it's coming really strongly.
Right, but this generation never knew film as a technology. Like they didn't know 1 hour photo labs, or so it's a whole. It's like any other art form now that like you learn painting. It's painting isn't a commercial way to have your portrait done, and for them, film wasn't either. But so yeah, I agree.
Okay, thank you so much, Bridget and Naroa and Daniel, for the abstract of the debates. I think we just enjoy these 2 hours and a half of amazing conversation, seeing your images, sharing, and everything. I think it was really enriching. Also, Morgan was working. I mean, we were not losing our time. Okay, that's important. Someone is making money with this.
She has so many plotters there.
She's in grad school. She got to work.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm in grad school. I'm doing digital negatives printing. So I was like, I can print and attend so that I can get my stuff done and make some more happy accidents of salt prints using non-sterile saltwater solution because I'm so risky.
I really like the idea of the digital negative to make all this stuff, like mixing them.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you to Naroa for creating this exhibition and also for being here these 2 hours and a half, sharing with us her opinions. It was amazing, and thank you everyone that just were here and joining and sharing with us. This is the Experimental Photo Festival. This is a big community of sharing. You have all your Instagrams. You can just follow everyone, talk with everyone, just ask for ideas, just ask questions if you have, no problem. We have our email. We have a lot of activities. Just stay connected with us on Instagram for having more activities. We're having exhibitions every month, these kind of meetings also, and also the Agora and the festival and everything. We are working every day of our life with this experimental photography. Just feel free to join us, and thank you so much for being here. I mean, it was really, really fun. Okay?
Thank you.
It's time to say goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
See you next time, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.